call us to order at 6 p.m. We have a quorum, we're all here, and Rusty, will you lead us in prayer?
Dear Heavenly Father, we come to Thee tonight, contrite spirits, with meekness of hearts, asking for Your forgiveness. Pray that You would lay Your hands on those that are sick, afflicted right now. We have lots of community members in the hospital with COVID. They need our prayers and our love, and they need Your healing. If You can see to have it for them, and we pray that You would be with us here tonight and help us to make the right decisions for this district. Help us to do what's right for the kids, and pray that they all come back to school safely this coming fall, and protect them in their travels as they travel for sporting events and back and forth to school. These things we ask in Jesus' name.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
We have no one on open forum, so let's move forward to new business. On the consent agenda, is there anything that anybody had a question on? And if not, if I could have a motion.
I make a motion to approve items 1 through 4 on the
Okay, I have a motion from Billy. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Mike. All in favor? No opposed, motion carries. Okay, and let's go. Regular agenda. Okay, Mr. Pine, are you going to present the first part, or?
I guess so.
Okay.
I didn't get the order to call the election until just right before the meeting, so you have a paper copy on your desk there. If you look through the actual wording of, if we call it, there's a for and against on page 3. That would be the actual language that would be on a ballot. And then right before that, on no, I guess that's it. That's the language on the ballot. So this is to call the bond election that we've been talking about. Before I talk about the bond election, I'm going to skip ahead and do my report. Mr. Garrison and I thought it would be good to do the update on where we are at the elementary building, since the vast majority of this bond is the elementary building. I wanted to do a construction update for you on the elementary building, if that's okay. Okay, so let's start with the roof. You know, we took a little bit of time. We delayed it a week in here, and then they delayed it 2 or 3 weeks arguing about some of the clauses in the contract. And that really ended up hurting us, because now the global shipping crisis, they're not going to be able to get our roof to us until, they say the worst case scenario is October. So they're free, they're done with their other project that they were doing before us, they just don't have the roof material. So they're not going to be able to work on the roof until October. Now on the good hand, if you remember in January, I had this same roofing company go up and do spray foam on everywhere they could find a crack or a hole. And we have not, even during the times when we had significant downpour, we did not have any additional leaks in the elementary building. So it's bad that it's going to take a couple more months, more than we had hoped, to get the roof on at the elementary. but at least we have no active leaking going on in the roof at this time. So that's the roof. On the repair of the pre-K wing, rooms 28, 29, and 41 are now ready. They may be doing a little bit of touch up on 41. We had to order cabinets at a late date for 41. So they may have just a couple things left to do in it, like maybe wax floors or something. But those 3 rooms have been returned to service. The rest of the hallway, all the pre-K hall, is going to not be done until September 15th is the new completion date. And I've gone over there and looked, and they're really starting to move now. So I expect that they are actually going to make that deadline of September 15th.
Just for construction, right?
Just for construction, that's right, good point.
Yes.
After construction's done, it's going to take our people 3 weeks to wax the floors. We have to still put in the thermostats that we've been putting around all the campus. We have to put in, our intercom system fried over the summer, so we've been putting in a new intercom system, hook up network jacks, all that type of stuff. So we anticipate 3 weeks after construction before we'll have those rooms ready to actually move in. Then the other thing we have going on in that building is the HVAC upgrade. They have completed putting in all the air sanitization systems. There was a link that we put on the mold remediation link on the page. At the top, there was a link to a video. They took that off, but I put a new link that still has the video on how that works. So if you want to see how that air sanitization system works, there's a great video there. Basically what it does is it ionizes the air, and so when it touches a living particle, it's supposed to actually kill the particle. If it's just dust, it causes, since it's ionization, it causes everything to clump together, and it then in the HEPA filter that are up in the HVAC, it's more likely to catch it because it's in larger clumps. So it's really an interesting system. They've completed installation of that everywhere in the elementary building. And they are working on, they're almost done with the thermostats. They still have a few more to go, I believe. And then we have a few HVAC units that actually went down during the summer that we've got to repair. So that's the other major repair there. We do have, so when we were done with the remediation plan, because we have had some questions, and Mrs. Booth asked me to address this as well in this update. When we were done with the remediation plan, I asked our mold expert what type of schedule do we need to do on the testing of it, and he told me, he goes, whatever you guys want. And I was like, 6 months, year? He goes, yep, we're good, we're there for whatever you want to do. So I scheduled it for 6 months, and then when Mr. Garrison and I talked the other day, we decided to move it up to September 15th when the pre-K wing was done. We thought that would be a good date. Then, based on some parent requests, he did come today and do sampling throughout the building. So I won't get those results back. I won't get the official results back for several weeks. I'll get the unofficial results anywhere from a few days to several weeks as well. So that's everything that's going on in that building. So before I launch on to the why to do the bond, any questions on that?
So is that throughout the entire building?
Yep, he tested everywhere. He spent about 5 hours taking tests.
Okay.
In the kitchen, in the gym, all the classrooms, both. He didn't test in the pre-K hall because with the construction going on in there, there's an enormous amount of dust. You wouldn't be able to get an
We
actual.
don't come back and do that one.
He really said that there's no reason. It's a brand new hall. We will catch it in the next round of testing. Or if you want, we can have him come back and test that hall as well. His thought was that there was just no reason to do that hall.
Okay, so just for my clarification, are the windows have been replaced? And
Well, that's a good point. So the windows that actually had active leaks, as soon as they started the construction, they sealed those up with plywood. And then once the windows got in, then they did replace them. So the windows in 28, 29, and 41, I believe. Was there a big window in 41?
Yes.
Yeah. All of those are brand new windows.
And one and two.
Yeah. And then all that pre-K hall and 1 and 2, they've done the windows on those now as well.
1 and 2 are where Schick and Mesnick are currently. They went ahead and did those windows.
Yeah, so they did them while they were doing all the rest of the windows in that wing, in that straight line of them.
So every window that we needed replaced.
Well,
so we're still waiting.
I still think we need to replace the ones in the offices. They're that same type of window. The science labs, room 17 and 18, is that correct? They have those same type of straight windows. They haven't shown any leaking, but if it happened on those other windows, it could happen there. So I still think we need to replace those, as well as the ones on the cafeteria.
But as far as the ones that were affected.
The ones that were affected have all been replaced.
Okay. And then also, you was talking about moving back in, and I know that's a rough estimate. You said 3 weeks over the 15th?
Yes, sir.
Jason, I guess, or do we have a plan of how we're going to get these people back in these rooms? Or are we just gonna, on a whim of a Saturday, or do we have some kind of schedule?
I personally would like to, my teachers, I've talked to them a little bit about it. If we could wait and do it over I don't know how you guys want to do it, but like a Thanksgiving or something where it's not in the middle of the week, but we're disrupting classes because it's not productive.
Okay.
But, if that's what we have to do, we have to do. But we would rather wait where we can have time for them to get their stuff set back up, have class.
Which I knew we had to get it out of there in a hurry.
Yes.
I understand that.
Yes.
I just didn't want to go back to that same routine and let's just.
Yeah.
Yes. It's not great for kids to do that.
I would think that would be
Yeah.
the easiest way for them to get done.
I will say what we actually do will depend upon the decision of this vote, because if we do the bond and if we start tearing out the vinyl everywhere else, what we move will probably change, because we'll plan for clearing out another hallway so the construction can start on that. But with if I sent out that bond timeline last week, if you notice on that, we won't get the money for quite a while, so we would still have the wait till a Thanksgiving to, even depending on how we do the move. What we're gonna move, we still have plenty of time to wait till a good time to do the move. Even if we do pass or decide to do the bond and do construction, we're gonna have time we don't have to do it in a rush like we did.
Okay.
Any more questions on construction?
Okay, then I'm gonna move on and make my pitch for, since we haven't passed a bond yet, once we pass a bond, I can't go out and say why we should do this, but hey, we haven't passed it yet, so I can't. So we did have significant flooding in our building. And my expectation is that we have cleaned out all of the active mold that we have in that building. But if you notice I said the word active mold, there's no way for us to tell in that second and third grade hall if there's something that's gone dormant underneath that vinyl. And that's why I've been pushing this so hard, is because the parent that has made the request to move up the testing, it significantly impacts her child. And that's why I want to do this, is because it bothers me that we might have something that someday, if it gets wet again, can come back and haunt us. And we just can't afford to do it out of local funds. And that's why I want to do this bond. I want to make sure that we fix it right, and we fix it for good. So that what we have is just wallboard. And if wallboard gets wet, you can cut holes in it and you can dry it. You just can't do that with what we have currently in that building. And so that's why this bond is such an important thing to me. That's why I've been pushing it so hard. It's because this really does matter to me. Sorry, I'm getting all emotional on you guys, but because it really does matter. So that's why to do the bond. Now, what exactly we do, like you saw in that timeline that I gave you guys, that's entirely up to you. We bring the architect in, you guys say, hey, all we want is the vinyl removed from the walls and the windows replaced, then that's what we do. The architect's going to want to do more because architects do. Every time you get an architect involved, the price goes up, like a $240,000 building. Notice I did put a different option than that time. So that's why to do the bond. So that's what we have to decide on this order. This order of election is basically all the legalese that says, hey, we're going to hold the election in November. We've already contacted the 3 counties. The 3 counties are in agreement to hold the election. So if we choose to do it, so that is what we're voting on. So, any questions on the actual bond itself?
So the way it's written here, it's got facilities and buses?
Well, and that's just standard language, just in case we throw buses on the end.
Okay. So
We
it
really
doesn't matter
do
one way or
need,
the other.
we do need a couple of buses, and if we have the money to do it, it'd be great. If we don't, that's fine too. But that's just standard language that, according to our, the bond council, the having that language in there just gives you other options.
Okay.
So that's why we put it in there. There is another thing that we need to add to the wish list that if you guys can decide whether or not to include if we do pass this. The units on the gyms are starting to give way. They're over 20 years old, and that's going to be $83,000 to replace those on both the new gym and the old gym, I believe. So we just got that quote in a day or two ago. So that may be something that when we actually sit down and we say, hey, this is what we're going to do, say you guys pass this, and then at the next meeting when we talk about the bond, when we talk about the wish list, I'm going to add that to the, hey, you should consider this in the list of things to do as well. And then you guys will decide exactly what we do. So, any other questions?
On, okay, on the amount that you're suggesting,
Yes, ma'am.
is that, how did y'all kind of come up with that amount?
That allows us, it's going to take $3 million to do the elementary, plus, it's actually going to be about $3.5 million to do the elementary. That would leave us $1.5 million to do just a few of the other projects that we would like to see done. Remodel the band hall, or remodel the showers in the old dressing rooms. I mean, those are a couple of projects that are big ones that are going to cost a lot. If we do those bathrooms in the high school, those are going to cost a lot. Things that we would normally be hard pressed to do out of our just our regular budget. So that's where the $5 million came from.
How close is that going to push us to max?
Well, fortunately today I got some good news on that. So the anticipation on this is that we will go up to 40 cents. We're at 20. We'll talk about a little bit later when we talk about tax rate that I'm going to recommend 27 for this next year. It'll take us up to 40, so that'll raise us 13 cents. That leaves another 10 cents. So we have another roughly $4 million of bond available to us if something happened in the future that we needed to do another bond. So originally, when we were very first were talking about these numbers, we were thinking that $5 million was going to take us almost all the way to the top, but it's not. It's going to, the numbers have changed. The interest rates have actually fallen since they gave us those initial numbers, and since we first started talking about this. It's a 25-year payout on the bond. We had kind of talked about, do 15, 20, but to save that 10 cents of cap room, we need to do 25 years. So it would be, the reason we did it this way is because we thought it was more important to reserve some future capacity for bonds than to pay it off 5 years earlier. Because you never know. We never thought Winter Storm Uri was going to come and show us that our building had significant difficulties. So you want to have some space left over. So that's why we set it this way.
That was what I was wondering. Anybody else have any questions?
Hey, Richard, on the list, I don't remember, does it include a roof for the junior high? Or do you remember?
I don't
in that
remember.
5?
I know the
we
price of
talked
it.
about it, but I don't remember.
I know the price of it's $184,000 or something like that. But I don't remember if that was in the wish list or not. Like I said, we do have to, before we start advertising to the public, we have to finalize what we say we're going to do. But we definitely can talk about it. And the one things that I've said that we need to fix the elementary. But the other things that we do with what's left over, we can finalize that at the, we can give you everything. I will say the playgrounds are a special, have a special place in my heart as well. Because like the junior high, we don't have a playground. And at the The elementary, the small playground, if the shipping crisis will ever let all this stuff get here, we'll get it handicap accessible, but the big one's not at all. So those are another big one on me for the list. But if that's ultimately, you know, we'll have to have a workshop where we go through what everything costs and say, this is what we want to choose. And then later on, like I said, you know, by the time we actually get some of this stuff, especially because of the shipping crisis, the price may have gone down on a lot of it, and so we may end up actually getting to do more than we thought, but we have to do it at least what we initially tell the public we're going to do.
And this may not be the right time at all. I still want to put it out there and use everybody's heads. There was an item that was crossed out on that list that I thought really needed maybe some more attention brought to it, and it was the, it seems like maybe, I don't know, since we have them here, but there may be a vaping issue in school, in the junior high and the high school. And if that's a real issue, I'd really want to address that. So, and it was on the list, but it was crossed out.
It's crossed out because the cost really isn't something. One of the things that you want to make sure that you do in a bond is you finance stuff that's going to last the length of the bond. So like a vaping detector, what you're talking about, the cost isn't so significant that we couldn't do it out of local funds, and it's not something that's going to last 25 years. And so our financial advisor would recommend against that being something you purchase with a bond.
Okay.
Same reason why typically, I mean, we did it in the 2014, but we didn't spend a whole lot on it. You typically don't want to finance computers in a long-term bond because you don't want to pay for 25 years for something you use for 5. And so that's why we crossed it off, because if we truly need to address it, we can address it out of local funds.
Okay.
Okay, does anybody else have any questions? If not, I need a motion.
So we're just doing this, but we're not setting the actual cost for the $5 million on the bond.
It will be a $5 million bond.
5 million. If we vote for this, that's what it is. Unless y'all aren't happy with the 5 and y'all want to discuss that. But I mean, we have to discuss it now and figure
That's
that
why I
part
was
out.
wanting
Yeah, we
to
have
make
to
sure we did that before we.
Yeah,
It'll
Do
be,
you think 5 will be enough? That's my question.
yeah.
yeah, I don't think we should go above 5.
Okay.
I think 5 will be sufficient. I really anticipate that things like on that cost list, he gave us worst case scenario.
Okay.
I really don't, like, I do not think it's gonna cost $1 million to do the 2nd and 3rd grade hall. I mean, unless we let them do everything. If we just put up the tile in the hallways and rip all the vinyl out and repaint and replace the windows, it's not gonna cost that much. And so I think 5 will be sufficient. And because it really is important that we leave some room for the future, I think.
Right. Okay.
You good?
Yeah.
All right, so I need a motion.
I move to approve the order to call a bond election.
Okay, I have a motion from Rusty. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Doug. All in favor? No opposed, motion carries. All right, and meal prices, I think is yours too, Mr. Hines?
No.
No.
Let us do that one.
So let me talk. The meal prices, the student meals will be free this year, but we're still required to meet the standard fee from the Texas Department of Agriculture and the student meals program. So to break even, we have to increase the cost to 22 cents for a student meal and 29 cents for an adult meal. And so if you look on last year's, the breakfast didn't change between last year and this year. Lunch was $2.80 for a student last year. We'd like to increase that to $3 at the elementary. At the secondary level, they were $3.15 this last year, and we'd like to increase that to $3.25. And then the adult meals were $4, and we'd like to increase that to $4.25.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions? Okay, I need a motion.
I move to approve the 2021-2022 meal prices as presented.
Okay, I have a motion from Doug. Do I have a second?
Second.
A second from Chad. All in favor? No opposed, motion carries. All right, so let's do campus reports. Mrs. Searles?
Really, for the most part, we've just had a lot of new students enrolling. We've had about 50+ new students enrolled so far. So I'm hoping our enrollment's up. We haven't seen a lot of records requests for students leaving. I know a few students are going to leave, but not enough to offset what we have coming in. So I'm excited to see that our enrollment is up as of right now. Teachers came back today. I think they had a really productive day working in their classrooms. There's a good positive vibe on campus right now. I think it's good for them to see that there's some things getting done around the campus. They're excited seeing some of the rooms. I took a couple teachers on a peek down the hall just to kind of see that there's work going on. We didn't go down the hall, but you know, it's nice for them just to kind of see that their rooms are headed that way. Had our first 2 parent calls today with kids with COVID, and so they're kind of questioning how are we going to start school if our kids are missing, like what do we do? So we kind of been, you know, just talking through them on that kind of stuff too. That's really, I mean, about it. Just getting the year started. We're excited.
Okay, do you want to tell us about your Meet the Teacher, or do we want to wait for Mr. Garrison's report on that?
Well, my plan for Meet the Teacher, as of right now, just to try to help with social distancing. I did read our plan that was approved by the board, and it does indicate we need to try to social distance where we can, and so we've got seats spaced out in the cafeterias, but to help Meet the Teacher, what we're doing is we're setting up tables outside. That way, anytime there's anything that normally congregates and forms a group or a line of large amounts of people, like buses, people always have a lot of information about buses, routes. We're going to do that outside. Coach Moose and I are going to do a popsicles with the principals. We're going to do that outside and have a table. Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, they're still invited. They're going to set up tables outside as well. The extended hands, they're going to already have backpacks in the room. That way there's not extra bodies that don't have to be there on campus. And so then, you know, typically parents trickle in and out. It does get somewhat congested, but I feel like if we can have the tables outside, that helps spread out people that don't need to be congregating in the school. So that's my plan.
Yeah, I think you'll probably have the biggest group as
Yes.
usual of everything.
Yes.
So, and just, you know, can they leave their school supplies when they meet their teacher?
Yes.
Just, okay, that's
Yes.
the way we usually do
Yes.
it, but I know there's always new parents that aren't
Yes.
real sure about it, so.
Yep, they're gonna have their teachers will have it just like normal. They're gonna have the stuff set up where they can leave it, have their cubbies ready to go, lockers ready to go where they can leave their supplies, and we'll have masks available for people that feel comfortable. We have our sanitizing stations set up, you know, just like they were for people who want sanitizer. Hopefully that helps.
Thank you. Mr. Pearson?
Kind of along the same lines, teachers came back today, very productive, getting a lot of stuff done, getting their room set up, making sure all their technology works is going good. The custodial staff did an excellent job over the summer, getting everything ready. Mr. Rice, Ms. Morrell, and Mr. Thomas did a great job. I was impressed watching them. I helped out as much as I could. Whenever I was able to, they busted it. And everything, they deserve all the recognition for the way the school looks right now. Our maintenance staff did a great job taking care of the grounds, fixing the stuff that needed to be fixed. And we're excited about the school year. The teachers are, I think, excited, and we're ready to get going. And our Meet the Teacher night, we won't have as many as elementary. And we're going to have masks available, sanitation stations as needed. And, you know, if you're comfortable coming in, you're more than welcome. If they're not comfortable at this point, that's my name, call us when we get everything set up, we can go with that. So, ready to go.
Okay, that sounds great. That sounds great. Mr. Vanderpool?
Similar to what's been going on with the elementary and the junior high, I will say that our freshman class is sitting at about 62 right now, which is a fairly large, I think, from the past enrollments. Sitting at about 215 total. I've got the number 217 in my head for some bizarre reason, but I'm thinking it's 215 to 217-ish. And our senior class is the smallest class at 47 still. In regards to meet the teacher, it's going to be similar to Mr. Pearson's. If they're comfortable coming in, they're going to be welcome to come in. We're going to have masks available, hand sanitizer as needed. Schedule changes will occur after the first day. I will say that in regards to House Bill 4545, Mrs. Carr's done an excellent job getting parent conferences set up for that. So we are ready to hit the ground running with remediating those kids and getting them ready to pass their EOCs if they struggle with that. Volleyball started up today, first game. Football's got their scrimmage at Lockney. We've got volleyball tournaments the next 2 weekends, and we're going to hit the ground fast and furious. We're ready to go.
Sounds great. Thank you. Ms. Carr, do you have anything you want to add?
I think so.
No, you don't want to? Yeah, no?
No, it's not.
Yeah. And since for some reason our assistant superintendent didn't add the athletic director, that was kind
care about that. I made a PowerPoint, that was actually big reading, but that's all right, I'll show it to you next time.
Yeah. Well, I was at Meet the Eagle, it was wonderful. Anything you want to add, I'll ask.
Okay, well, long story short, we've got 42 playing football. We've got 32 playing volleyball, and we've got 4 cross-country runners. One, we, believe it or not, lives out at the creek, which is Panhandle School District, but wants to run for us. So we had to do a waiver to get them residency eligible, and that's in the process. So I think it'll go through. UIL's quirky on that, but a lot of excitement. As you can tell, my wife is my Facebook coordinator.
She's doing a great job.
Yeah, well, she's a lot better than I would be at that, but it's a great time. And the little ones are great. If you've looked at right now, that practice field is packed with, you got band in the middle, and you got TCY on one end and TCY on the other. And then we've got volleyball going in the gym. So right now, athletics is just, it's a fun time to be an Eagle right now. And so with that said, whenever I'm done with this, I'll go there. Does anybody have any questions for me? I do need to talk with a couple of you guys about chains, and anybody willing to help with clock and game clock and play clock. And caps will be here. I got some neat ones, August 17th. Apologize about that, but y'all make sure that that's taken care of. But if anybody's willing to help on Friday nights in a capacity on the game, I'll be more than happy to put you to work. I also need a statistician so that Ms. Huff over there can get up-to-date stats and not depend on me to get them to her, because my punctuality's been slacking here lately. But any other questions that y'all have? Well, appreciate it. Thanks.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Let's go to, thank y'all very much. It sounds great. And Mark, thanks everybody for us. I know y'all worked hard this summer. It looks great. We really appreciate it. All right, Mr. Hine, your time again.
On the finance report, there's one thing to point out. Because of all this shipping crisis stuff, the roof, we did budget amendments for $1.5 million into maintenance to pay for the roof and to pay for the construction. Well, the construction's not going to be done, and neither is the roof, so we'll only pay about half of that money out. So the budget that I presented to you tonight, when we actually go to vote on it, there's going to be a large increase of however much is left. Like half of the roof we'll definitely still have to move on to next year. I don't know how much of the construction will get billed out. The way the construction works is they bill us as they do it. So every 2 weeks they send us a new done, and they've done a lot in the last 2 weeks. So I expect a large payment to go out before we adopt the final budget, but it's not gonna be 700,000. So there's gonna be a large amount of money that'll not get spent in this year that was budgeted, that'll end up moving to next year. So, and that is not reflected in the budget that we'll be talking about here in just a little bit. Does anybody have any questions on any of the finance reports? Okay, then let me move on to that said budget. So I tried to up the game a little bit this year and give you a budget workbook. Put some nice graphs and stuff in it. So we'll go through and talk about a few of these things. So first, the tax rate. So the tax rate, sorry, my screen is not moving. Oh wait, I haven't touched it. Oh, it's still moving on. There we go. So the tax rate that, it's kind of interesting for schools because our M&O tax rate, ever since House Bill 3, the M&O tax rate's really been designated to us. So we really, I mean, I go to Carrie Kimmel's office and we calculate what our tax rate should be. And so on it is going to be, the M&O would be 1.0323, which it was 1.0353 last year. So that's our tax rate. It has to go down a little bit because of the tax compression that they did. Our property values actually went up 2.9%. And so that 2.9% requires us to actually go down a little bit in the tax rate. So the required tax rate for us set by TEA is that. Well, our total tax rate has to be 1.3023 right now with our current M&O debt. And so that means we had to come down a penny in M&O, which was okay because with the increase in the 2.9% increase in tax values, we actually didn't need as much M&O. So coming down a penny is good. So all in all, they'll see until we do the bond election, which those taxes won't go on until next tax season. But for now, they're actually going to see just a very small decrease, a little over a penny decrease in taxes. And you can see I put in there where our taxes, and obviously the vast majority of our tax base is in Hutchinson County. One thing I didn't put in here, and I'll try to do it next time, is our mineral value. About $15 million of our tax base is mineral value. It's just the pipes running underneath us. We get money for those, and it's actually a good amount. So that's when we go down in value a lot, it's usually that. You know, with the price of oil drops, we don't get as much. And but right now it's doing okay. So then I included a apparently very blurry copy of the tax notice. Sorry. So any questions about the taxes? Okay, we'll formally, in that meeting on the 26th, we'll have our tax workshop. I've already sent this notice, not as blurry, to the newspaper. And so we will have our tax meeting on the 26th. If any citizens are listening and want to come talk to us about it, that's the time. Okay, so now I'm going to move on to the general operating budget. We actually had a slight decrease in general operating budget this year, 0.5%. And the reason for that, when we get on to the actual values later, is because we actually had a decrease in payroll. Even though we gave a raise, there were several high-paying positions that retired, and there was one or two positions that we absorbed, and so our payroll went down quite a bit. And so our payroll is the vast majority of our budget, and so our actual budget is going to go down by 0.5%. As we've talked about before, the vast majority of our revenue comes from the state. I did do our budget on, if you'll see there on page 5, I did the budget on 607 as our refined ADA. Seeing all of the enrollments that we currently have is very refreshing. You know, we've been going down for the past couple of years. We started out last year at 657, And we were definitely down to 607 by the end of the year. If we'd gone another few weeks, it would have dropped a little more. So having a enrollment up is a good thing. If we have a higher enrollment, then obviously we'll end up having money that we can start putting back in the bank and thinking about using that money for other purposes in the future. But 607 is where we went because that's where at the end of the year, and we really hoped, you know, we noticed that all the houses in town are pretty much filled up. There's every indication that we have more populace than we did at the end of the year. So we decided to go with 607. TEA is projecting us to go down to 592, I think it is. We're just very hopeful that does not happen, and what we're seeing with enrollments bears that out right now. Okay, so on the next page, I just did a graph for you guys to see, you know, this is where we spend our money. Instruction is where we spend the vast majority of our money. Now, in this budget, and we'll talk about it a little later, I do have a couple of big ticket items in this budget. I have $110,000 for another bus. We really do. For those of you who haven't been here for a while, we've been replacing a bus a year. And the reason that our bus fleet is very old, we have some buses that are from the 80s. So I mean, we're talking 30-year-old bus. We have a couple of them that are starting to be mechanical issues enough that we really need to get them out of the fleet. We do keep a spare bus or two, so I mean, but they're even older. So we've been doing, like I said, one bus a year. If we were to do a bus out of local funds and a bus out of the bond, I mean, get those two buses, that would be great. If not, we'll just keep doing one a year as long as we can in the budget. The other ticket item that I did is I have $150,000 in this budget for maintenance items, maintenance projects. And I've given you that, we'll just scroll on down to that. Well, let me talk about the expenditures by object. Once again, payroll 75%. That's if you just take general operating. If you add in all of our federal funds, it jumps up to about 82%. The next big one is our 6,200. 6,200 is all of our contracts. A lot of them with Region 16, our copier contracts, the drug dog people, the officials that do our games. That's all 6,200. So if we go on to the notable expenditures, so like I said, I put some projects in here. These are not set in stone. Like there's a couple of projects I had on here for last year that one of them I just couldn't get the material in. Once again, the supply shortage is killing us. And then another, it just didn't happen. So these are the projects that I'm anticipating spending about $150,000 on there. Some of the prices are just complete guesstimates. Most of the prices here are pretty accurate to what it's actually going to cost. But so we've been doing that for the past 2 or 3 years now. We've been putting a substantial amount extra in maintenance to get things repaired that have needed repaired. And we've done a ton of projects in the past few years. Like for example, the playground that we're waiting on the supplies to get done. That was $60,000 of our maintenance budget from last year. So, well, actually I gave you an underprice. That's right. It was $46,000. So that's the things that I have on the list. That, like I said, that doesn't mean that that's all we do. Doesn't mean that that's specifically what we do. For example, the intercom at the elementary that went out, I mean, that's a $10,000 expenditure. I dropped one of the projects we had planned for this year off the list so that I could do that intercom upgrade. So it does fluctuate some. I gave you a 3-year comparison of spending as well, just so that you can see the past 3 years. And you can see that we really stay roughly the same. We did in a couple of years ago, you notice in 34, there was a big spike. That was the year that, I'm pretty sure that was the wreck and we had to buy a couple of buses. And so that's why 34 spiked up that way. And then we'll move on to the details. Before I move on to details, any questions about any of that?
Just real quick on those buses.
Yes, sir.
So how many are you lacking to have
I probably need 5 to 6 more buses. One of those is a smaller bus. It's a handicap bus though, so it's got a high price tag as well. So I probably, let me think about this. So we bought bought 2 or 3 now route buses. I think we bought 2. So if we bought 2, then I need 6 more to completely modernize the fleet.
I think it's 3,
I think we bought 3.
yeah. But
We
could
bought
be
one
wrong.
and then we had 2 new ones and those both were wrecked and we redid those 2.
Well, and I'm not talking activity buses, I'm talking route buses. So we bought a demo unit a couple years ago, and then this last year we bought ones that ESSER was gonna pay for, and then TEA told me no, so we ended up paying for it.
There's just 2.
It's 2, yeah,
That's all we bought is route buses.
yeah, so
We run 8, is that what we run, 8?
we're running 8, and that includes the, does that include the special ed route now, Mark?
Yes, sir, 8 does.
Yeah, so I need 7 total route buses, we've got 2, so I need 5 more regular route buses and a special ed route bus to complete the fleet. And like I said, the special ed bus will cost less because it's a much smaller bus, but it also is a special ed bus, so that has an added expense, but it'll probably run still 70,000 to 80,000. But they typically run about 110. If we get a deal, like the very first one we bought, it was a demo bus. And so it's decked out as an activity bus, except for it's still just a yellow bus. So it has an extra air conditioner, has better wheels. Those better wheels make it ride a lot better. Has storage racks and stuff like that. And so, you know, I like to get those deals because it costs about the same as just a plain Jane bus. And it comes with 10,000 miles already on it. It's not even broke in by then. So those, I like kind of having one of those because that way, sometimes our activity bus, we have a bus that we could send out at night that still has some of the things. But, I mean, we still, and we bid it out. There's 2 major bus providers in our area, Blue Star and Thomas. And we send it to both of them and say, who can give us the best deal? So we do it through buy board, so we don't have to actually do bids because they're really the only 2 big providers in this area. So.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, so if we'll move on to the details, you'll see that we do have an $8,255,488 budget. That is just the general fund. That is significantly up than a few years ago. House Bill 3 a few years ago really increased the amount of our funding. It's what has allowed us to raise our teacher pay rates as high as they are, do these things like these maintenance projects in the buses. So, I mean, it's really been a good thing for us. You can see on the second page that lists out stuff, you can see that 110,000 sitting out there for the bus. All of these, in the next couple pages, you know, you have this page that just lists all the expenditures. I don't remember if I've gone through this tonight or not. 6,100 is payroll, 6,200 is contracted services, 6,300 is supplies, and 6,400 is everything else. Well, everything else usually is travel. That's what the vast majority of 6,400 is. So you can see there that we spend the vast majority of our money in payroll. The next largest chunk is in contracted services, and then our other brings up, and then supplies. We do spend very little. I mean, compared, we spend $393,000 on supplies. It's not very little, but it is compared to the rest. That's one of the things, when we choose to pay because we really do pay well for our teachers compared to everybody else around us. And we have less supplies available, but we spend our money on our people instead of as much supplies. So it's one of the choices you make when you do the, like we did this year, we added the $300 to teachers. So that's the effect of it on the budget. So then on the next page, you just have a comparison of last year to this year. And if you have any questions on any of those figures, I wrote notes on all of it, but I'm not going to go over them all unless you have questions. Like I will touch on a couple, like the $235,000 down in instruction payroll. Like I said, we had four teachers that were in the highest end of our pay rate who retired and then were replaced or absorbed by teachers who have much less years of experience and therefore don't get as much. We had one teacher who quit right like a week ago, right?
Thursday.
Thursday. So that salary is in here, but is not, or no, I took that salary out. And so that's a salary that next year will get added back. You'll notice that we have a large increase in instruction and contracted services. That's going to be our Spanish program that Mr. Garrison has found. I'm trying to think. Do you have any questions on any of those other figures, the changes? If not, then I'm going to jump all the way to, I'm just going to jump to the other two budgets. We do 3 budgets. We're required by law to present to you 3 budgets. The general operating budget, which is what we just talked about, the child nutrition budget, and the debt budget. So in the second set of detailed files, the 240, the National School and Lunch Program, normally those who have been here before have heard me say, yeah, this is just a wild guess at what this budget's going to be. Well, this year it truly is the most wild guess I've ever done, because we're going to feed every kid for free. So I have no idea how much we're going to spend, how many more kids are going to eat, so how much more food costs we're going to have, and I have no idea. The reimbursement rate is completely different as well from the state, so I truly have no idea. So I just doubled it and what I normally would do, and hope that's close, because I just don't have a clue. There's no way for us to know what the budget is going to be on this, because it's something that's not happened. We've never fed every kid for free, because I guarantee you we will have a lot more kids eating since everybody's free. And so, and like I said, we'll get it with a lot more kids eating. We'll get a lot more reimbursement from the state. So it's numbers, but I'm not going to guarantee that it's anywhere close to accurate, because I just have no way of knowing. So I guessed.
Does anybody have any questions about that?
That's just a 1-year deal, right, on the reimbursement thing, just this year?
Oh, who knows? The way it's been going, I mean, I would never have guessed they were going to do that. So,
Okay.
there's been so much money thrown around because of this COVID thing, and there's still a bunch of it out there. Who knows? Next year they may go, yeah, there's enough money to do it again. And so, it's a crazy thing. Okay, and then the final debt budget is our debt budget, and that is just, that's our current debt payment plus the fees. So it's roughly the same every year, unless the bond passes, and then it will be more. So, any questions on anything about this?
Since you're going to have more kids probably eating, have we increased our payroll? Have we increased our people, or is it still the same number?
That's a great question. I don't believe we have, no. So that is something we probably look at.
Curious, because I know them
Well-
girls, they get it, but they're busy, and that's with the normal, half the kids bringing their lunches.
We'll talk to Kara about it. Yeah, it's not something that even occurred to me. Nope, it's a good thought.
Okay.
It's a good thought.
All right, anybody else have any questions? Anything?
Okay, we'll present this, and like I said, there will definitely be some additional expenditures added to it because of things that'll have to move on to next year. But it'll be the 26th when we'll actually vote on it.
25th.
26th. 25th is a training, I think, isn't it? Or is that a...
16th.
No, 16th is the call meeting, and then the 25th is training, and 26th is meeting.
Yes.
Yes.
We get to spend a lot of time with each other this month.
And I will say, because of the bond, we will get to spend even more time together.
Yeah,
because
we will.
that'll take quite a few meetings.
We can postpone it a little bit. Sometimes it's really good.
I don't want to hold y'all back.
All right, so,
Yeah, figure it out.
all right, Mr. Garrison, I think it's your turn.
I don't have much in my report because, school hadn't started yet, so we don't have attendance to talk about. What I would like to talk about tonight is, we discussed as an admin team some of the COVID procedures that we wanted to start the year with. We checked the numbers, and Hutchinson County's numbers right now are very high. They have gone down some in a day. We checked them yesterday, and they were 77 active cases. And when we checked it earlier today, it was down to 63, so that's a good thing for it to go down that much in a day. However, as the admin team, we discussed that, at least to start the year, we'd like to limit the visitors going into the schools. In our safe return to in-person instruction, part of that we passed in the last board meeting was that our schools would continue to follow the practices, protocols, and safety guidelines recommended by the CDC and the Texas Education Agency. So once you look at the public health guidance from TEA, it has a link to go to the CDC, and in the CDC's guidelines at the moment, it says that schools should limit non-essential visitors, volunteers, and activities involving external groups or organizations, particularly in areas that are in moderate to high COVID community transmission. And so, with the high numbers in Hutchinson County, we thought it was important that, at least to start school, that we limit the number of visitors. And so, we don't want to, with this new variant, we don't know how it's going to go or any of that. And so we think it's important, to err on the side of safety and for our students. And so, we'd like to limit that to begin with. And then, who knows, it might be all year long we're dealing with, we have visitors for a while and then we have to limit them for a while and back and forth. We're not sure what the future holds with this, and it's something that I don't know that's going to go away, anytime soon, so we'll be dealing with it for a while.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions?
So this is a board policy, correct, that we voted on and took action on? So it would take action for us to go with this?
No,
correct?
we've already voted on that. We've already done it.
That we're just going to follow those guidelines and all that?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I do have a comment on it.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
So I don't think, to me personally, and I know I'm up there every day, but look, the kids are coming from the same houses that their parents are going to come from. I don't think just shutting down school is the answer personally. COVID's not going to go away. We're still running volleyball. We're still running other activities. We're still allowing in for, it's not like COVID goes away. It doesn't start until August 17th. I don't think that, me personally, I just don't think that's the right thing to do. I don't think we should limit our parents to, I don't know what is so bad about somebody just coming to ask a question to a principal, or I'd rather way more get that in person than I would through an email, because you get a lot more when you have a face-to-face action. And yeah, you can say we can schedule appointments and all that, but if I have a problem, I would like to be able to just ask, I can see somebody that day and take care of that problem. There again, I don't know that they do. I just don't, it doesn't sit well with me personally. I just don't like locking up public buildings. I'm not a fan of it. And like I said, these kids are already coming from these homes. I just don't, I don't see the difference personally, and that's me.
And my deal too, there's safety things in place where you can get the vaccination, or you can wear a mask, or you can do these sort of things. And the state of Texas is saying, you have this option. Social distance, if you don't feel comfortable coming to school, don't come to school. If you do feel comfortable to come without a mask, with a mask, whatever you want to do, I think it should be open. These kids have had enough taken away from them, I guess. They get super excited when their parents come and eat with them. They get the parties and that kind of stuff. And if you keep doing this, COVID's not going to go away. So COVID's here. They're not going to fog the whole world and get rid of it. It's here. If we keep doing this, they're never going to do the parties. They're never going to do this stuff, right? Who's to say it's not going to be all year long, and then these kids are doing parties by themselves, and teachers are doing the parties by themselves because they don't have the room moms, that kind of thing. And I don't agree with it either, but it's not our decision.
And just real quick on that, you know, I approached the board as a civilian prior to being on this board about using the facilities over here for the Fritch youth basketball. And what a great deal everybody thought that was, to be able to use these facilities and do these things. So, and kind of hit on Chad's point there. Yeah, I think you're kind of taking away from them a little bit. But that's, and I'll just end with that. That's just not about, I don't like it.
Can I say anything? Can we say anything? Or not?
Oh, sure, go ahead.
Okay. I think I'm speaking for them. Y'all correct me if I'm not. We don't mind, you know, at some point if the campuses are open. When I was reading the policy, I didn't know what the policy said that you guys had voted on. So I read it, you know, I don't mind if, I would love it if parents can come back, but we were kind of basing this on the numbers that were, how the opening policy read, you know what I mean? And so we were just following what we thought was the policy that you guys had voted on.
Yeah.
We love it. We want parents to be able to come back. You know, I agree with you guys as far as parents being there, but when we were reading it and following what the policy said, that's where we just started following the links on what that was saying as far as CDC guidelines and those types of things.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the problem, I mean, from talking to Jason and you and everything, it's just that the numbers are escalating right now. I mean, if they start dropping, then there's no reason, you know, to have the schools closed. But the way I mean, like you said, the way you know, we're supposed to follow TEA and CDC is what is recommended. They gave us, I mean, the governor gave the school boards, you know, the right to say no masks. You know, lots of places are going back, no masks. Lots of kids aren't even going back to school. And so I totally get it. I mean, I was against the security doors. I don't even like the security doors because I feel like it tells people not to come in. But the thing is, you know, I mean, we've got to make a decision. We're either going to follow the TEA CDC rules or, you know, kind of go out on our own. And I've seen, I'm sure y'all seen on the news when some of the school boards kind of go out on their own, you know, they get a lot of grief from parents. If they don't go out on their own, they get a lot of grief. I mean, it's, you know, there's nothing we want to do to hurt the district. We don't want COVID numbers to get so high that we have to shut back down. You know, it's more as a precaution is the way I look at it. But, I mean, the thing is, we can't make everybody happy. So, yes, the admin did go in, they read the policy that we've given them, and that's how they came up with it. We can discuss it, we can change it. I mean, you know, we'll have to vote on a new policy, but we can do that at the next meeting. Okay? I mean, but the thing is, as of the policy states right now, unless we're not reading it correctly, if the numbers go up, we're supposed to restrict. I don't know, are we talking just on campuses? Are we talking UIL events? Are we talking sports? No?
No, when you read,
Yeah, UIL has their own.
Yeah.
They have their own rule.
when you read the
That's about-
TEA, then they refer you to CDC, and it has it listed out for these kind of sports, these kind of events, cafeteria rules. I mean, it has it all individual.
So that's my problem with the whole thing, is if we're gonna open it up for all these other things, and we're gonna open it up for meet the teacher night, and we're gonna open it up for all this different stuff, how is it any different to open it up during the school week? That's my issue.
You know, my thing on that is, you know, if kids choose to go to the UIL events, you know, and go to the football game, then they're choosing to be a part of that. When kids go to school, you know, they're held captive. And so, you know, for example, when kids go to lunch, you know, they have to go to the lunchroom. And so, you know, they don't have a choice. They can't remove themselves from that. And if we've got visitors from the outside coming in, I mean, we've got those visitors who, you know, may or may not have the COVID around these kids that don't have the choice to remove themselves or not. And so that's why we thought, as, you know, when we talked, that at least we'd start out, you know, limiting the visitors, going by the CDC guidelines, because those kids are held captive. They don't have the choice.
And
Did
then, go ahead.
Did we let parents in? I know we let parents in towards the end of last year. Was it because numbers were down or?
Yes.
Okay. And CDC and TA are just guidelines, they're not rules.
No, no.
Right.
And like I said, if we're unwilling to let our parents from this town into that school or any other school, I'm not saying let any school out, I'm just saying. But then yet, we're gonna have a volleyball game from, and Amarella's gonna come, Stinnett's gonna come, Sunray's gonna come. Really, I mean, we're kind of picking and choosing at this point, and so.
I missed the last meeting, so I didn't know what y'all had done, but I kind of agree with, I do agree with Doug.
No, I agree
And-
when we're all going in
And Chad, both. I mean, I think that, that you should let the parents in. If those parents want to wear a mask when they go in, that's great. If they don't want to wear a mask, that's their, you know, that's their prerogative, because what the state says is that they don't have to.
Yeah.
You can't mandate that. So we should actually, I think, preventing parents from going in and seeing the kids and having parties with them. If the teacher says, hey, I'm really uncomfortable with everybody coming in, what do y'all think about wearing masks? It's a suggestion. Some people may say no, some people may say yes. But always give them the option to wear something like that. And then I think keeping the parents out hurts the kids, because the kids, that's what they go for. They work hard, and they do all the things that they have to do. They read all the books that they have to read. They need that reward, and when their parents are there, that makes them feel even better. So excluding the parents from that as well, I don't think we should do that. In the beginning or at the end of the school year. Unless numbers come up. If numbers come up, you know, and things change, you know, where we're having a lot of kids with COVID, then we have to make adjustments. But for right
So you
now,
don't think the numbers going up, I mean, the numbers are high right now.
not in the school, they're not.
Well, that's-
Until the numbers, until we have that in the school, I don't think we should. I mean, it's a county thing, but the county's huge. I mean, it may not even be.
Yeah.
They were still up, I mean, they weren't, I'm not saying they were at the level they were when we opened everything, but, and like that, just in that, we still did the youth basketball with the numbers still high. And I know I saw a lot of people that are on the board too, a lot of them coach, but, and a lot of parents and other parents that were there, so, I mean, you know, until like, and I get, they're trying to get ahead of it and probably trying to stop the wildfire maybe, who knows? But I don't think it's fair to kids or parents.
What do you think, Rusty?
I agree. I mean, numbers are what they are. We believe the number, that's fine, you know, that's fine. I think that the kids have been through enough, and we held them out. We held them out for half a year. They were having to learn from home. That made it tough on the kids, it made it tough on the parents. We went back to school, we limited people coming in the buildings, like Doug says, without all these extracurricular activities from other people, from other towns. I mean, common sense tells me that we need to open up. We need our kids to be able to enjoy their experience in school. I mean, that's what it's all about. If they don't enjoy school, they're not going to do good in school. If they're limited with visitors, their parents can't come and eat lunch with them, that's going to affect some kids. Some kids, they strive on that, and they really need that to do well in school. And I think it's a good idea. If we can revisit this the next meeting.
Yeah.
I think we need to do the same, yeah.
Okay.
We will have an opportunity with Fred here to make sure that,
Yeah.
I mean, I agree with Logan, it's not a law, it's a recommendation from the CDC and the TEA.
And that's the CDC and the TEA, that's not the state.
Right.
The state says
Governor Abbott has made it perfectly clear that he does not want to limit the kids that education. I mean, that's basically what he's saying.
Right.
So,
I want to say something too. I don't want it to come off like I'm saying y'all made the wrong decision by posting that, or made the wrong decision, because the policy says exactly what y'all did. What I don't agree with is the way that policy was written. I don't want y'all to feel like I'm blaming that decision on y'all because y'all did exactly what it said in the policy. Our policy was screwed up and we need to fix it.
So on the next agenda, we'll just put to revisit this policy and Fred will be here to just double check.
You know, you redo it on the 16th
Yeah.
as a line item.
Yeah.
And then if we have any parents or concerns, have some concerns, that would be their opportunity to bring it to us.
Sounds good. Okay, thanks Jason on that. What else did you have?
That's it for me.
Okay, all right, so I'm just going to remind everybody that we will have that called meeting on Monday at 6. Isn't it Monday, 16th? I think so, yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
And then we'll have the board training on the 7th or 25th, and the forum, the public forum will be on the 26th, and then we'll have a called meeting after that about the tax rate. Is that right, Mr. Hunt? The public forum on the tax rate is the 26th?
Right, and it'll all be in the one meeting. We won't have to do a separate, but
Okay.
yeah, it'll all be part of that meeting.
Okay, all right. All right, is there any other questions or any other discussion that anybody wants to do? All right, I move to adjourn at 7:11. Second from Billy, all in favor?